Hey guys, welcome back. So now that we've done with the login and the register functionality, it's almost time to move on to the more interesting things such as outputting videos and commenting on videos and things like that. But just before we do that, we do just want to create something which is a user class, which will give us access to all the data for this user, like the first name, the last name, things like that. And we'll also use it to kind of tell if the user is signed in or not. So that'll make more sense to you very soon, but let's go back to our text editor and we can close down some of these files. We can close down signin.php. I'm going to actually close down account.php as well, I believe. I'm going to create a new file and I'm going to save it in the includes classes folder. It's going to be the user class. So in the classes directory, save it as user.php, just like that. Okay, so I've saved it as user.php. I'm going to put my opening PHP tags on and my closing one, and then say class user and my curly brackets too. So this is our user class. Now let's go ahead and create the constructor, just like we did with all the other classes. So public function underscore construct, like that. Just to remind you again, like I do every time, this is 2 underscores, not 1. So this is our constructor, the code that is called when the class is created. And we're going to have 2 properties in this class. We're going to have a connection variable, private con, like this. And we're going to have another variable called SQL data, which will hold all the SQL data for this user. And like I said, you can create another private variable underneath this, or you can just do a comma and say SQL data, like that. This now means we have a private variable called con and a private variable called SQL data. Okay, and this constructor will take 2 values. It will take a connection variable to the database, which is con, just like we've used everywhere else, and then we'll use a username variable too, which will be the username of the person we're creating this class for, because we'll use this user class not just for the user logged in, but also when we use things like when we're commenting on people's videos or liking a comment, we'll use this user class to get details about that certain user. So inside the constructor, let's just assign this connection variable. So we'll say this arrow con, just like we've done everywhere else, and we'll just say equals con, like that. So we've assigned the connection variable to this one up here, and that's our class. So we're not doing anything with this username yet. We'll do something with that very shortly, but for now this is our user class. Let's go ahead and use this. We're going to use it in the header.php page. So go back to header.php, alright, and the reason we're going to use it here is because this header.php will be included on all of our pages on our website, and so by creating an instance of this user class in this file, we'll have it on every single page. So in the PHP block we have at the top, I'm just going to make some space below that, okay? And we need to actually include this user class before we can use it. So copy this require once, and I'm going to paste it below, and I'm going to change this to includes classes / user.php, like that. User.php, and if you want, you could just refresh the page, make sure there's no errors about it can't find the user class. So we've refreshed the page and there's no errors, so that's great. We know this class, this URL, sorry, is okay. And what we're going to do is we're going to create our username variable. We're going to say username logged in, because this will be the username of the user which is logged in, and we'll just say equals, and we want to set this to be the session variable, because you know in the sign in page we set this session variable here. We said that this will contain the username of the user logged in. So we just want to set this value here to be this session variable, okay? So the thing is though, we want to be able to access our index page even if the user isn't logged in, because you know on YouTube, you don't have to be signed in order to access this stuff, okay? So we want to do the same sort of thing. So we need to check if it's set first before using it. So we can just say username equals is set, like this, and then inside there we can say $_session and square brackets. Inside the square brackets, we're going to take this user logged in string, okay, because that's the session variable we set. We're saying user logged in equals, if this is set, then question mark, then we're going to copy and paste this session variable again, and then we're going to do a colon. I'll explain this in just a sec, and then empty double quotes. So let me just close this sidebar down. Now I'm pretty sure I've mentioned these ternary statements before, but basically it just means user logged in is going to be set to this one here or this one here, depending on whether this is true or not. So when you have this question mark and this colon, it means set the value of this to be, if this is true, be the first one. If it's false, it'll be the second one. So it's exactly the same as saying, if this value is set, say it to be this, else set it to be this. All right. So if you want to change this to be use an if else, then you can, but this is okay. So now that the user logged in will either contain the username from the session variable, or it will be an empty string. And then underneath that, we're going to create an object of our class. We're going to say user logged in for object equals new user, which of course is our class, pass in the connection variable, which comes from our config file, and then finally pass in the username, which comes from here. So if you're not logged in, it will pass an empty string into this. And that's it. We now have this user logged in variable, and we can actually start using it. So great. Let's just refresh the page and make sure there's no errors there, and there's not. Perfect. And that's it. We have our user class now. Next thing we're going to do is add some functions to this, such as get first name, get last name sort of thing, so that we can call these at any point and get some user details.